Before we start, if you're the kind of man who values truth over comfort and reality over fantasy, hit subscribe now. Around here, we don't sell motivation. We talk clarity. And clarity changes everything. Everyone talks about why women leave. Almost no one talks about what happens after they do. Not the Instagram version. Not the "I found myself" story. I'm talking about the truth, the psychological aftermath that starts when the noise stops and the silence begins. Every man who's been left knows that silence. You scroll through her new life, the filtered smiles, the captions about peace and rebirth. She looks radiant, unstoppable. It looks like she won. But that's not how the mind works. The human brain doesn't erase attachment, it rewires it. And that rewiring comes with pain, cognitive dissonance, emotional displacement, neurochemical withdrawal. 3 invisible phases that no one ever posts about. When she leaves, she doesn't just lose you. She loses her emotional gravity, the rhythm her life quietly revolved around. At first, she calls it freedom. She celebrates it. She performs it. But freedom without grounding isn't liberation. It's drift, not peace, but withdrawal. Not self-discovery, but identity collapse. Not happiness, but chemical survival. This isn't a story about bitterness or revenge. It's about cause and effect, how biology and psychology always settle the score. Because every emotional high ends the same way with the crash, and no one crashes quietly. So if you've ever wondered what really happens after she walks away, stay until the end, because what you'll hear in the next few minutes won't just explain her story, it'll redefine yours. It always begins the same way. She calls it taking her life back, a rebirth, a new chapter, a clean slate. And for a while, it works. She wakes up lighter, bolder, almost high on her own courage. She tells herself this is freedom. This is peace. This is who she was meant to be. But what she's really feeling isn't peace. It's dopamine. The brain releases it every time we feel validation, novelty, or approval. It's not healing. It's chemical. Not empowerment, but euphoria. And like every high, it never lasts. This is what I call the honeymoon with herself. It's not about you anymore. It's about the story she's desperate to make true. She's the heroine who walked away from what no longer served her. She changes her hair, redecorates the house, joins the yoga class she always said she would. Every selfie becomes a declaration of rebirth. Every post, a silent plea for reassurance. Tell me I made the right choice. Her friends feed the fantasy. You're glowing. You look free. You're finally happy. Each compliment is another dose of validation, her temporary proof that leaving was strength, not escape. Psychologists call this self-justification bias, the mind's defense against doubt. The ego protects the story, even when the truth starts whispering underneath it. Because deep down, the silence feels different now. It's too big, too still. And no matter how many likes she gets, the dopamine fades faster each time. The validation stops landing. The mirror starts asking questions she doesn't want to answer. What if freedom doesn't feel like freedom? What if peace isn't supposed to feel this empty? So she keeps moving louder, busier, brighter. Because stillness means awareness, and awareness means truth. But truth has patience. It waits. And every time the noise fades, it speaks a little louder. She doesn't know it yet, but the unraveling has already begun. Because the honeymoon was never built on healing, it was built on denial. The mask stays on, but the mirror is starting to talk back, and that's where the awakening begins. The unraveling doesn't come with drama. It arrives quietly, like fog creeping in under the door. At first, she doesn't notice it. She blames it on exhaustion, stress, or the weather. But the spark that once made her feel untouchable has dimmed. The confidence she performed now feels like work. Every laugh feels a little forced, every smile a little delayed. Something inside her has shifted, and she can't hide it forever. It starts with the first real date. The guy looks good on paper, stable, charming, emotionally available. The conversation flows easily. He compliments her, makes her laugh, says all the right things. But when he leans in at the end of the night, something inside her freezes. It's not fear, it's awareness. He doesn't know her, not really. Not the tiny details that once made her feel. Seen the way she locks the door twice, hums when she's nervous, or always adds too much sugar to her coffee. To him, she's a blank canvas, a possibility, a concept. That's when the first crack appears. She tells herself it's fine, that she just needs time to adjust. But the brain doesn't lie. It's wired for pattern recognition, and the pattern is starting to look familiar. The faces change, but the feeling doesn't. The conversations blur together. The charm sounds rehearsed, and the attention never sticks. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental friction between what you expect and what reality delivers. She thought she'd find excitement. Instead, she found emptiness, not connection, but transaction, not romance, but repetition. Slowly, her mind begins comparing without permission. She remembers the steadiness, the security, the way you understood her before she even spoke. You weren't perfect, but you were real. You weren't exciting, but you were solid. That thought terrifies her, because if you weren't the problem, then maybe she was. Her ego won't let her face that yet. So she buries it beneath distractions. More outings, more noise, more denial. But silence always finds a way back in. It follows her home, sits next to her on the couch, and watches her scroll through meaningless conversations. One night, she finally feels it, that quiet panic she can't shake. It's not loneliness, it's recognition. The life she wanted doesn't feel like the life she expected. The freedom she celebrated now feels like drift. And that's how the awakening begins, not as regret, but as realization. The truth doesn't arrive loudly. It seeps in one thought at a time. At first, she tells herself it's just a bad week, a temporary dip. Everyone has them. She repeats her affirmations, keeps smiling for pictures, and posts the same recycled lines about healing. But something's changed. The words don't feel powerful anymore. They feel like performance. The energy she once used to build her new life now goes toward pretending it's working. This is the panic phase, the point where the illusion starts cracking. Her world begins to shrink. The noise that once drowned out the silence no longer comforts her. The attention she once craved now feels empty. Every new face, every new conversation, every shallow compliment leaves her more tired than before. She tells herself she's fine. She has to. Because if she admits the truth, the whole story collapses. But the cracks are spreading. The house she decorated for her new beginning now feels haunted. The walls hold memories she thought she buried: your laugh, your scent, your presence. Even the smallest details pull her backward. Psychologists call this emotional regression, when the mind, deprived of stability, starts craving the comfort it once resisted. The human brain doesn't seek excitement, it seeks familiarity. And when the fantasy stops feeding her, the memory of reality returns. She starts rewriting history. The things she once resented begin to look different. The routines she mocked now feel safe. The quiet she called boring now feels peaceful. You're not the hero in her story. Not yet. But you're no longer the villain either. That's when anxiety sets in. Not loud, but constant. Every silence feels heavier. Every night lasts longer. She reaches for her phone, scrolls through your old photos, then stops. Pride won't let her text you. but her mind already has. The panic isn't about losing you. It's about realizing she doesn't recognize herself anymore. The woman she fought to become doesn't feel real, and the one she used to be feels too far away to return to. So she smiles harder, laughs louder, pretends stronger, but none of it works. The silence keeps whispering what she refuses to say out loud. She didn't just walk away from a man, she walked away from her center. And once you lose your center, every direction feels wrong. Eventually, pretending stops working. It doesn't collapse in one moment. It fades slowly, like light draining from a room. The laughter grows quieter. The distractions lose flavor. The silence she once called peace now feels like punishment. This is the reckoning, the point where the story she built no longer holds her together. It begins on a quiet night. She's scrolling through her phone, hoping for something, a message, a sign, anything to remind her she still matters. But the screen stays dark. The men who once flooded her inbox have vanished. The attention she mistook for validation has evaporated. She feels invisible in the same world that once applauded her. Her friends have changed, too. The calls are shorter, the invitations fewer. The same people who cheered her freedom now live in different rhythms, families, routines, stability. She's still chasing something they've already found. And for the first time, she feels like the outsider. She looks around the life she built and realizes she's surrounded by everything she thought she wanted: independence, space, control, yet none of it feels like peace. The truth lands hard. She didn't escape. She drifted. Psychologists call it post-idealization collapse, when the fantasy can't sustain itself anymore. The dopamine that once fueled her is gone, replaced by a steady ache. The high is over. What's left is withdrawal. Her mind is replaying moments she tried to erase. The arguments sound different now. The stability she mocked now looks like safety. She starts to see that she didn't leave because life with you was unbearable. She left because she thought happiness lived somewhere else. That's when the late-night messages start forming in her head. Sometimes she writes them. Sometimes she doesn't. Hey, how have you been? I saw something that reminded me of you. She won't say what she really means. I miss the version of me that existed when you were there. The reckoning isn't loud. It's quiet, relentless, and heavy. It's the part where realization replaces resistance. She's not angry anymore, just aware. She thought time would heal her. It didn't. It only stripped away the illusion. And as she scrolls through old photos, she finally admits the truth: she didn't lose herself when she met you. She lost herself when she left. After the reckoning comes the silence, not inside her, but around her. The world that once celebrated her new chapter begins to fade. The people who cheered her on slowly disappear. At first, she tells herself everyone's just busy, but she can feel it, the distance growing between her and the people who once called her brave. Her married friends are the first to vanish. It's not judgment, it's fear. Her story reminds them how fragile stability really is. She used to be part of their dinners, their inside jokes, their couple conversations. Now, she's the uncomfortable reminder that forever can end. The texts slow, the invitations stop, the warmth turns to polite distance. Then come the single friends, the ones who swore they'd lift her up. At first, they do. Nights out, drinks, laughter, a sense of sisterhood built on shared rebellion. But it doesn't last. Competition creeps in. The same men, the same dating pool, the same unspoken jealousy. The friendship becomes a trade validation for validation, attention for attention. It's not real connection anymore. It's survival. Soon, she starts to see it clearly. She doesn't belong anywhere. She's not a wife. She's not a carefree girl. She's something in between, untethered, unanchored. The independence that once felt like empowerment now feels like exile. The group chats grow quieter, the weekends emptier. That's when nostalgia returns, not as longing for you, but as recognition of what she lost. You weren't just her husband, you were her grounding, her mirror, the steady rhythm that made her feel safe. Without that, the world feels chaotic, unstructured, and loud. Psychologists call it phantom relationship syndrome, when the mind still feels the presence of someone who's gone. She catches herself turning to share a joke, then remembering there's no one there. She still folds laundry the way you liked it. She still hears your voice in her thoughts when she needs advice. It's not romance, it's wiring. The brain holds on to patterns longer than the heart can let go. She's surrounded by people, but she feels unseen. She's free, but not found. The noise that once made her feel alive now just reminds her of what's missing. And in that emptiness, the truth settles. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from realizing no one really knows you anymore. When the loneliness becomes too heavy, she looks for a way out. The easiest escape is attention. So she re-downloads the apps, telling herself she's just seeing what's out there. But she's not looking for love. She's searching for proof. Proof that she's still wanted, still beautiful, still worth choosing. The first rush hits fast. New matches, new messages, new faces. Every ping on her phone is a dose of dopamine, short, bright, and empty. For a moment, she feels alive again, but the high fades quickly. The conversations blur together. The compliments sound identical. The laughter feels forced. It's not connection, it's repetition. She tells herself dating has changed, but what's really changed is her position in the game. The same men who once pursued her now scroll past. The younger ones flirt, but don't commit. The older ones want comfort, not connection. What she's running into isn't bad luck, it's the reality of the marketplace. Psychologists call it novelty fatigue, the burnout that comes from endless, shallow stimulation. The dating apps are designed for consumption, not connection. She's not meeting men, she's meeting algorithms. Every conversation feels like auditioning for attention she used to receive effortlessly. And slowly, she realizes the brutal math of modern romance. The men she wants have options. The ones who don't have options aren't what she wants. The balance she once took for granted is gone. She's competing in a marketplace that rewards youth and novelty, two currencies time already took from her. It's not cruelty, it's biology mixed with reality. The more she chases attention, the more it drains her. The dopamine hits shrink. The silence between them grows longer. She starts ghosting before being ghosted. She tells herself she's protecting her peace, but really, she's protecting her ego. The rejection hurts less if she's the one to disappear first. One night, as she scrolls through messages that lead nowhere, it finally hits her. She's not escaping loneliness, she's recycling it. Every new man is just a mirror reflecting the same void. Not connection, but consumption. Not affection, but distraction. Not freedom, but fatigue. The market she thought would make her feel powerful has only made her feel replaceable. And for the first time, she sees it clearly. She didn't trade unhappiness for freedom. She traded meaning for motion. Reality doesn't crash in, it creeps. One bill at a time. One empty evening at a time. One quiet realization that independence costs more than she imagined. The dual income that once made life comfortable is gone. The safety net she thought she didn't need has disappeared. Now, every choice feels heavier. Every mistake costs double. At first, she hides it well. The same clothes, the same smiles, the same image of strength. But slowly, it shows in the corners she cuts, the plans she cancels, the small luxuries she lets go of. She tells herself she's simplifying, but deep down, she knows she's surviving. Psychologists call this post-decision dissonance, the moment when the emotional cost of a choice finally catches up to its narrative. Her ego tells her she's fine, but her reality whispers otherwise. Freedom without structure feels less like power and more like exposure. But the collapse isn't just financial, it's identity. When she left, she didn't just lose a partner, she lost her reflection. For years, her life was defined by we, shared goals, shared routines, shared purpose. Now, every decision begins and ends with me. At first, that sounds empowering, until she realizes she doesn't know who me really is. The bed feels too big. The meals taste different. The silence between weekends feels endless. She moves through her days like she's watching herself from a distance, performing independence but feeling invisible. Then comes the body's betrayal, what psychologists call touch starvation. It's not about sex, it's about connection. The warmth of another person next to her, a simple hug, a hand brushing her arm in the kitchen, the kind of human contact that reminds you you're not alone. Without it, her nervous system starts to panic. Stress rises. Sleep fades. Her body remembers intimacy, even when her pride refuses to. She posts about growth, about self-love, about healing. The captions sound strong, but strength has turned into armor. And armor is just fear in disguise. Independence was supposed to feel like freedom. Now, it feels like distance. She thought she'd reinvent herself, but what she's really doing is recovering from herself. And in that quiet space between survival and surrender, she starts to see it. She didn't escape a man. She escaped meaning. And the price of meaning is everything that used to make life feel full. When the real world becomes too quiet, she retreats into the digital one. It's safer there, filtered, polished, easy to control. Online, she doesn't have to face silence. She can curate her image, rewrite her story, and convince herself that the glow is real. The apps welcome her back like an old addiction. New matches, new messages, new attention. Every notification feels like oxygen. For a moment, she's wanted again. But attention isn't affection, and validation isn't connection. The messages start to sound the same. The compliments blur together. The conversations go nowhere. It's not rejection that hurts. It's the emptiness behind every "you're beautiful." The dopamine hits shorter, weaker, emptier. What once felt exciting now feels exhausting. Psychologists call it validation fatigue, the burnout from chasing approval without intimacy. The mind adapts to constant stimulation, then crashes when it realizes nothing lasts. Every match fades, every spark dies, and every maybe ends in silence. The apps that once made her feel powerful now make her feel replaceable. She starts scrolling less, posting less, talking less. The performance takes too much energy. The mask she built online, the one smiling through every caption about healing, has become heavy. Behind it, she's numb. The excitement she projects isn't joy, it's maintenance. The glow is gone. Her feed still looks perfect. The dinners, the smiles, the trips. But behind every picture is a pause, a long stare at a screen, a quiet scroll through memories she swore she deleted. Sometimes, she ends up on your profile, not out of longing, but recognition, a reminder of a version of herself that used to feel whole. Psychologists call it digital dissociation, when your online identity no longer matches your internal reality. The gap grows wider until you can't tell which version of you is real anymore. She thought she was escaping loneliness by staying connected. But the truth is, she's feeding it. Every scroll deepens the emptiness. Every post is a plea she won't admit. See me. Remember me. Believe me. One night, she closes the app and stares at the blank screen. For the first time, she doesn't feel relief. She feels the weight of her own reflection curated, exhausted, unrecognizable. Because the battlefield was never online, it was always inside. Eventually, the noise dies, the lights fade, the mask grows too heavy to wear. The followers who once clapped for her have moved on to new stories, new faces, new illusions. And when the applause stops, the truth steps forward quiet, uninvited, and impossible to ignore. She doesn't break down, she just slows down. The posts stop, the nights get longer, the mornings feel heavier. And in that stillness, something shifts. The story she told herself doesn't hold up anymore. The narrative that once made her feel powerful now feels like weight. She's no longer angry, just aware, painfully aware. Psychologists call this post-realization grief, the mourning that comes when fantasy dies and the truth finally takes its place. It's not just about losing someone, it's about losing the version of yourself who believed the illusion. She begins to see her choices clearly, stripped of justification. The marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real. The arguments weren't fun, but they were honest. The comfort she called dull was actually peace. Now, she sees that freedom without direction isn't power, it's drift. Independence without belonging isn't strength, it's isolation. And all the things she ran toward feel hollow next to the life she ran from. She checks your profile sometimes, quietly. You're smiling now. Different, calmer, more grounded. You've rebuilt. She can see it in your posture, in your peace. You became the man she hoped you'd become, but without her. And that realization cuts deeper than any heartbreak. Because it's not just regret, it's recognition. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because she believed the lie that there was something greater waiting. But the world doesn't give better. It gives trade-offs. And what she traded was the one thing she didn't understand. She'd miss safety. Time has a cruel way of revealing value. It strips away the noise until only truth remains. And when it does, she finally sees it. She didn't lose a man. She lost her home. Because the opposite of love isn't hate. It's realization. And realization always comes too late. In the end, time does what pride never can. It tells the truth. Not through words, but through silence. Not through anger, but through distance. Time doesn't punish, it reveals. And once the noise fades, what's left is what was real all along. She thought freedom would save her. But freedom without peace isn't liberation, it's exile. She thought independence would fulfill her. But independence without belonging is just a longer kind of loneliness. She thought the world would offer her something better. It didn't. It only mirrored back what she gave up. Meanwhile, you changed. You rebuilt. You learned the lessons that pain teaches men quiet. Thankless lessons that forge strength where ego once lived. You stopped needing closure because you found clarity. You stopped chasing her story because you started writing your own. And maybe that's how life balances itself. She was the storm that broke you open. You were the calm that time sent back to her. Because love doesn't always end with betrayal. Sometimes, it ends with understanding, the kind that comes too late to fix anything, but just in time to see everything clearly. She'll remember you, not the arguments, not the ending, but the peace. And when she does, she'll realize something she can never undo. You were never the chapter she escaped. You were the story she'll never finish reading. If this story hit something inside, you don't scroll away. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Share your truth. And if you want more clarity, more insight into the psychology of love, loss, and rebuilding, subscribe. Because here, we don't do fairy tales. We tell the truth, the kind that sets you free.